We are here with Ribal al-Assad. Thank you for coming in Nazione Futura headquarters, and thank you also for coming to Italy. It's a great pleasure to have you here and discuss an important topic for not only the Middle East, but in general for the world, the Syria situation. Ribal al-Assad is the director of the organization Democracy and Freedom in Syria. So first of all, I want to ask you how has Syria changed from the Arabic Spring to the fall of Bashar al-Assad?
Yes, thank you very much it's a pleasure being here. Well, first of all, I've been campaigning, for over 20 years now, almost 25 years for democracy and freedom in Syria. I've also set up the Iman Foundation to promote interfaith, intrafaith dialogue and challenging extremism, because I knew that this is where we're gonna, where we're heading, where the Middle East is heading. And because there was many TV channels that were set up at the time from both sides, Shia TV channels, Sunni TV channels, and they were both attacking each other's, on religious, grounds. So of course I saw that this is, if we don't do something very quickly, and this is what I've been trying to promote, and what I've been going around the European Parliament, the British Parliament. I've spoken at different universities all over the world, different think tanks all over the world, trying to tell the people that we need to create a genuine alternative, a democratic alternative that believes in our values, in Western values. If you continue on doing what the United Nations has been doing since 2011, by bringing the regime on one side, which is a dictatorship, and on the other side, the Islamist extremists, and ask them to come up with a constitution, I don't think there's going to be much of a democratic constitution. And as you've seen, it has failed. After so many years, it has failed. And Bashar, at the same time, he made sure that those peaceful demonstrators who went against the regime, his regime, that they were no longer there. So he started releasing all these Islamic extremists from jails, the ones that he used to send to Iraq to fight the US. And suddenly he made sure that his only opposition left in the country are the Islamic extremists. So at one point, we only had the regime on one side, ISIS on the other, and Al-Qaeda, which is al-Nusra Front, headed by the current guy who named himself president in Syria, al-Jolani. We also have to know that al-Jolani was a high commander in ISIS under Baghdadi. Before Baghdadi sent him to Syria to found al-Nusra, which is al-Qaeda branch. And then he decided, al-Jolani decided to sever his ties with ISIS and have his allegiance to al-Qaeda, to Ayman al-Zawahiri, who was the deputy of bin Laden,
And so, what is your opinion about the new al-Jolani government? Do you think that can be a partner for Europe and for Western country, or do you think that can be a danger for us?
I think it's very dangerous, because al-Jolani, as I said, he's al-Qaeda. He's a guy who believes that they have a perverted ideology of Islam. It's not, they know nothing about Islam. In their perverted ideology, they believe in killing all those who do not share their ideology. They believe that all other people are infidels, that they should kill them. And he has said many times openly, on TV, that he should get rid of, the different minorities. This is what he was doing anyway. This guy has committed as many atrocities as the regime. They have crucified Christians. They have sold Druze women when he was leading Idlib as an emirate, as a caliphate, and when he was surrounded in Idlib. They had underage marriages, sex slaves, what they call it, jihad nikah, bringing women to marry the jihadis, So could you honestly trust a person like him? Have you seen a Western leader meeting with the leaders of Hamas, for example? Have you seen a Western leaders meeting with bin Laden before? Have you seen a Western leaders meeting with Baghdadi in Iraq, the head of ISIS? Have you seen them meeting with Hezbollah leaders? No. So why suddenly we should set a precedent here and accept such a figure? This is going to encourage other Islamist extremists from all over the world to start doing the same. They'll say, okay, then we'll have a chance if we start killing so many people. and we, at the end, they will recognize us and accept us.
What are you saying is quite impressive, and for us there is a topic that as Italian, as a Christian, is quite important, and it is the so-called Christianophobia. And so we really want to understand from you if there is a strong danger for the Christian minorities in Syria, and what can happen with the new government to the Christian minorities.
Of course, this guy, when he was in ISIS, al-Jolani, he had offered a plan to Baghdadi about how to rid the region of all minorities. They have, as you know, ISIS, and when he was with ISIS has killed and raped, 5,000 Yazidis women in Iraq. They have killed many Kurds. They have killed Alawites. They have killed Shias. They have killed Christians. They have crucified Christians. They've done the most horrific things. So we shouldn't be shocked. The United Nations has reported on everything they've done. They have used chemical weapons together with the regime. They have used chemical weapons on each other. So if the United Nations and the whole world had put sanctions on the previous regime because of the atrocities he had committed, so why should we compensate this guy who has committed as many atrocities? Suddenly we want to lift the sanctions on these people, give them money. But why? They said, we'll watch, let's lift the sanctions, we'll watch what he's doing, and if he does something bad, we'll bring them back on. But he didn't stop his killings. He didn't stop the atrocities he's been doing. Just yesterday, he attacked an Alawite area in Latakia, killing many people. 3 days ago, the same thing in my own town, in Qardaha, and a few days before that, in Homs suburbs, in Hama suburbs, he's been committing atrocities, massacres, and we're just waiting. We just lifted the sanctions on him to give him more money so he could have more foreign jihadis coming from all over the world. He already has over 20,000 foreign jihadis with him. Foreign, that he's given Syrian citizenship, that their passport are being printed and their IDs in Turkey.
And do you think that we can see in the next month or year a situation similar to what happened in 2015 with the migration crisis?
Of course.
I mean, with many Syrian people that arrived in Europe.
Of course, at one point, all those people are going to leave. And this is what he wants. This is what he's trying to do, to terrify them so that they all leave to Europe. And on the other side, he's going to bring a lot more jihadis. If you bring a tiny percentage of all Muslims around the world, there's 1.8 billion. If there's a tiny percentage of extremists, let's say 1%, that's, a few millions. Could you imagine he starts emptying those houses, taking over the houses? He's giving those houses to those jihadis, people's houses to those jihadis, and he start bringing, let's say, 1 million or 2, in a few years. They're right on the Mediterranean. This is not Afghanistan. This is right on the Mediterranean. In 2 hours, they could be in Cyprus, on the Greek islands, in Italy. As you know, he took those people to fight Haftar's people in Tripoli to Tripoli before, which is right on the doorstep of Italy. So he's someone he cannot be trusted. Why should we wait until he's much stronger? Why should we wait until Erdogan, who has sent so many refugees, he used the refugees card to put pressure on Europe, to act? If you remember 2016, Paul Wainwright, who was head of Europol, at that time he said there was 3,000 to 5,000 hardcore jihadis who had fought in Syria who were back in Europe. Could you imagine now this guy has a whole country and the whole country's institution under his control? He's putting all commanders in the army. The head of the Republican Guard is a Jordanian. The head of the security in Damascus is a Turk. The head of the security in Homs is a Lebanese. One commander is Uyghur Chinese, another is Albanian, another is Uzbek.
But in your opinion, what can be an alternative, another solution for Syria?
That there's a very easy solution. They should, first of all, I've been calling for many years that Europe should create a new platform where everyone who believes in our values is invited to come. So first of all, we should say everyone is invited as long as you agree to our values: equality of all citizens under the rule of law, equalities of women and men. An Islamist would never agree. Equality of a Christian and Muslim. An Islamist would never agree to that. Equality of a Druze, of a Shia, of a Sunni, of an Ismaili, of a Murshdi, of an Alawite. Again, an Islamist would never agree to that. So if those people would never agree to that, why should we back them? Why should even Europe think of recognizing such people? You know, we always say we are for human rights, we are for the rights of women, we are for the equality of Christians and Muslims. This is not what you're doing. You're encouraging an Islamist extremist group. You're setting a precedent. You know, you're encouraging now everyone from all Islamist jihadi groups from all over the world to do the same.
But I have two more questions, not only linked to Syria, but in the area. What do you think about the situation right now in the Middle East? Do you think that the Abraham Path can be a solution for have more stability in the area?
Well, the peace was always the best thing for the region. And actually, this was one of the reasons that October 7th started, because the U.S. was in discussion at the time with Saudi Arabia, and Saudi was asking for a security agreement with the U.S., where the U.S. would guarantee to defend Saudi Arabia. Of course, Iran was very worried about that, because in exchange for that, Saudi Arabia was going to be the next to sign the Abraham Accord. So this is why I think they asked Hamas at the time to start, to move ahead with the October 7th, which was a horrible, they did horrible things on that day, and we've seen the chaos that it has created. But today, with those people, what kind of accord you can have? Now everyone is so scared. This guy, as soon as he came, he went and put this Egyptian guy on TV with two masked men, and he started threatening the president of Egypt. Now Jordan is very worried, because it's right on the frontiers. Saudi is very worried because Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman is trying to move his country, has been working very hard since he took, since he became Crown Prince, to move his country towards the future. He's been having all those amazing events, like singers, all of that. He cannot accept having those people to stop this progress that he's doing, So we are, of course, and everyone is terrified because they know Turkey's ambitions. They know the same way they knew Iran's ambition to expand, but Iran has a very limited, influence in the region, because they use some of the Shia Arabs, because a lot of the Shia Arabs don't believe in following Iran. So where are they? Some in Iraq, in Lebanon,
Yeah,
there's
maybe.
Yeah, but Yemen, they're not even Shias.
Yeah.
It was a mistake to have pushed the Houthis to become to tell them you are Shias, you are pro-Iran Shias, that they are the ones who kind of push them there. But actually, it's very limited, as you know. They want an access to the Mediterranean, but Turkey, on the other hand,
is a different story.
It's different, because they believe the Ottoman Empire spreads from Mauritania to Western China.
That's quite true.
And they have a very big military industry. They make their own tanks, bulletproof vehicles, drones, whatever.
More than 80 million.
And more than 80 million, a huge army, second largest, army in NATO. They have amazing soft power. Today, Turkey has become the Hollywood of the region. Everyone watches, TV series and movies Turkish that are in Turkish and that are exclusively dubbed in Syrian dialect.
Also in the Balkan area, they are having a stronger influence, for example, in Albania, even in Serbia. One last question. What is your opinion about the new Trump administration? And how is that in the Middle East?
Well, to be honest, in his last term, he was managed to do in 1 year what the previous administration under Obama couldn't do in 5 years. So in 1 year, he was able to defeat ISIS, to defeat many other extremist groups. Why? Because he didn't make the mistake of going after a specific brand. He went after all of the brands. For him, and he's right, they all share the same perverted ideology, no matter their brands. If their name is Hamas or al-Nusra or al-Qaeda or ISIS or Tahrir al-Sham, whatever. It's actually the same. They all have the same perverted ideology. And he was able to defeat them. And just before he left, he had ordered the targeting of the leaders of al-Nusra, and he killed Baghdadi, if you remember. But they missed Jolani, sadly. But now we hope that, I was a bit upset when he came, because he said, "Oh, let's leave them. None of them is our friends." And I was really upset about the statement he made on his X account, because the Syrian people are the West's friends. There are a minority who are not, of course, who are the Islamists that we should get rid of. And we ask President Trump and all of Syrian people's allies to help us rid Syria and the region of all this cancer, of Islamic extremism. So it's true, as I said, these people are not the US friends, but the majority of Syrian people, peaceful Syrian people, they are the US friends. When people rose against Bashar, they were not asking for a theocracy. They wanted democracy. When people went as refugees, nobody went to Iran, and nobody went to Afghanistan, and nobody went to any eastward country or to Uzbekistan or whatever. Everyone wanted to go west, because that's, for them, that's the dream. But if we help them to have a genuine democracy at home, where they could strive and have a prosperous future, nobody would want to leave their country. Nobody would want to come to Europe.
True.
And this is what we should do. Do you think they're happy? They come, they sit in refugee camps for a few years, like in Germany, to learn the language and then to find a job. And it's very difficult. But if they were at home, and if we help them at home to have a better life, where they live with their families, their neighbors, in our culture is very different. People love to live we have very close family culture. We have very big families, so they would stay at home. If they have a good job, why would they want to go abroad?
Yeah, that's true. Thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate this interview.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Thank you.